Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being here with us tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. And we are getting into the Moonbat hours yet again, Thursday, May 10th into Friday, May 11th, 2012. Thanks for being with us tonight. We have a lot of interesting news stories to cover with you here on the broadcast tonight. So thank you for staying up late with us. Thanks for getting up early with us if you're in that part of the world, or thanks for listening early in the morning if you're listening on an archive or YouTube video or something like that later. Thanks for tuning in here to the show tonight. We had didn't have much of a show last night. It's really not worth listening to. Well, it is for things I had to say, because I kind of spoke from my heart and said things that needed to be said about pertaining to this broadcast and a lot of things. But we had lots of issues last night. I mean, just hack attacks and all kinds of crazy stuff. And seemed to be running great all night tonight, all day today. And about, I don't know, an hour or so ago, I think it was, I was getting ready to start the show. And we just started doing weird stuff again, firing off stuff. I think part of the problem, too, well, I don't think, I know, 4 or 5 months ago, I had to get another external hard drive for the network box because I had been running both the archive recording and the music, streaming the music off the same hard drive for the longest time. And it was starting to have some issues and skipping stuff. And so I got another external hard drive that we use just to record the archives to, and then the music and the bumpers and all that stuff cue from another external hard drive. And it seemed to fix it, but I think that was just a warning sign for this thing. I mean, I got this terabyte drive back in 2009. I think even before I right before I started the network. Yeah, I was still on Oracle at that time. And this thing, since then, fall 2009, it was when I got it. Since then, it hasn't been turned off, not once. And, hard drives have, the disk spinning thing. After a while, they do give out. Well, this one's been going nonstop, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week since 2009. So I think that's what some of the problems is, because it was doing this thing right error. I was getting like write errors on it tonight, which I've never gotten before. It could be that whatever these viruses and stuff were that we got on this box, on this computer, which again, there's no way there could have been any viruses. We had 6 Trojans on here last night. You got to understand, this network box, the only time it gets turned on is showtime. That's it. It doesn't get turned on any other time. And there's no browsers ever opened on it. So there's no internet surfing going on. There's nothing being downloaded to it. So there's no reason why there should be anything getting in as far as viruses are concerned, especially when I already have, firewalls and antivirus and all that stuff. So it could very well could be something with that. But so I've got it. That's another $100. I got another external hard drive. That's another $100 I don't have. But yeah, John, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. It's time to. I think if you get that long and that much use out of $100 hard drive, I remember that was just so ungodly cheap at that time. Of course, now I think you can get a 2 terabyte for around that price. But back in 2009, for $100 for a terabyte drive, that was a good deal. But it's got tons and tons of music on it. It's almost full. That could be another thing. It's almost full. I mean, I don't think we have any precedent for what terabyte drives do once they get almost all the way full. That's a lot of fucking data, dude. So. I'm gonna have to get another one ASAP. Of course, as I said last night, I don't know how that's gonna happen, but we shall see. TheGlobalReality.com is my website where this broadcast originates from. Thanks everybody for your kind emails and stuff. A lot of people, felt me last night. Thanks to the few people, we got a few dollars thrown our way as well that'll help. And we still could use more because it's just been so light lately. So if you haven't supported us yet, please do so. TheGlobalReality.com. Hit our chip and banners there. We have one for the film as well. That's a frustrating thing right now. Just, making a film and having zero kind of a budget. But all the while, the information just continues to blow. I mean, blow my mind. And it's just, it's unbelievable. I mean, you think, you get to this point sometimes where you think you've seen it all and you've heard it all and everything. And you think all there is to know about. I never get to that point, but you know what I mean? I don't ever feel like I know I know all there is to know. But sometimes when you're not finding new things, you can feel that way. But lucky for me, I'm in a position to where very rarely do I ever feel that way because it's my job, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how people just can't or don't progress, don't evolve, don't change. It just goes to show you that when you see people, presenters, radio hosts, whatever you want to call them, researchers. I don't even call them researchers if they're not doing research. A lot of people, the research community. Well, it's not a research community if only very few people are doing research. You know what I mean? Call it something else. Call it the parrot community or something. Because that's generally what everybody does. Research is going to hear what other people are talking about and just repeating that. That's their research. I'm not kidding. That there are people out there that's the extent of their research. And you can pick those out very easily because when you don't hear what they talk about on a day to monthly to year to decade, in some cases, basis, and it just is the same thing over and over again. Now, there's never any new topics. I understand you get on a certain topic and that's all you talk about for, a year or 2 years. In my case, 5 years when it comes to the CMP. So that's not what I mean. But even though you may be concentrating on one end of things, there's still an evolution that goes on. It's a natural thing. It's a natural evolution that happens and should always happen as a result of you really honest to goodnessly doing your own homework and research. But unfortunately, there are so many people out there who don't do that. And this is my job. This is what I do. And like I said before, like I said last night, talking about the if you, even at $10 an hour, if you added up all the man hours that went into making one of these films like The Secret Right 2, I mean, my God, you'd be in the millions of dollars. And somebody in the chat room last night, during the show, I saw it later, said, yeah, that's why movie studio, that's why it costs movie studios millions of dollars to make a movie, why they have to have fucking teams of people to make a movie. And, here you are, you're just one guy doing this. And I'm like, yeah, thank you so much for feeling my pain. I appreciate that. That's all I'm asking. Even those people wouldn't dare work for free or without a budget. You know what I mean? So it does get frustrating, and it is frustrating for me, constant source of frustration for me, because flat out, period, end of story, nobody else is doing what I'm doing right now, or the type of work that I'm doing on this new film. Flat out. That is period, point blank. My sister could attest to that. She's been watching me get into this stuff, and she's been getting into it and doing her own research and reading some of the material and stuff that I've been getting, and it's been blowing her mind too. It's just amazing, man. I mean, this stuff is all around us and has been all around us for so long, but we've been so conditioned and so lied to that we don't have any idea, and this is pretty much the case not just in America, but all over the world. We have no idea what is right under our feet. The keys to the past, the keys to the future, the keys to the truth, they're all there. They're all here. They've been here. They've been waiting for who? Us. Not somebody else down the road 100 years from now or 1,000 years from now. Who do you think that those ancient discoveries have been there waiting for? Us. We're the ones, not somebody else. And that's why this stuff continues to present itself to us in the way that it has. This is our time now. This is when we have to step up and start to understand that we can cause serious damage to the power structure that controls the world by showing the areas where they have lied, covered up, ran disinformation campaigns, lied, changed history, everything. And I've had people say, I had somebody say, what do you think about making an edited version of your new film that could get in, high school classrooms or something like that, and cut out any alien stuff? I mean, honestly here, have you heard me really saying anything alien-wise about any of this stuff with the mountains? You don't even have to. In fact, I can't think of anything even so far yet that is really saying anything about aliens. And we were talking about aliens here. I mean, we could be, but that's irrelevant. So don't jump the gun on this and think you know where I'm coming from and what I'm going to say and how I'm going to be presenting this film, because you don't. Because you don't even have to go there, man. It's obvious. You can call it what you want. You can call it aliens. You can call it, leprechauns, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, there was way back in antiquity, farther than we're being told, civilizations, highly sophisticated, cultural center of the world. This part of the area of the world was the cultural center of the world once before, and it fell. And somebody was pointing in the direction that, trying to warn us. And there's been a massive cover-up to that. And we're going to be uncovering a lot of that in my new film, The Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 1. And so we need a budget. We have a chip and banner there at the website for that. We don't have very much in there on it right now, $125 of $3,000 or something like that. So any help we can get on that, please help us. You got to understand, that's the only reason that I get frustrated with not being able to have the resources to do this, because this is absolute bombshell. And I mean, again, this is all found information that I'm finding that's already been out there, in many cases for years, but I'm drawing it from so many different sources and pulling it all together. And then also, we had the one trip to go out in the field to go shoot, and I need to make another one or another two or something. I need more footage. Those of you out there that want to help out with footage, mounds, wherever you live, go look up anybody out there. I'm putting the call out again. Anybody out there who has access to a video camera, preferably HD, something decent, not a camera phone, but if it absolutely has to be a camera phone, then I'll take it if it's not shaky. But decent quality footage, HD video, 720 at minimum is preferred. If you live, most of these, for instance, I don't really know how many of these you really see on, I'm not familiar with the West Coast. It doesn't seem like the West Coast and stuff, there are as many of these, but definitely, we're talking Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Georgia. Cahokia Mounds are in Georgia, about an hour south of where the Georgia Guidestones are, near Macon, Georgia. I mean, if anybody can go out and get me footage of that, I'd love that, because I really wanted to make that on my last trip. It was just too far for us to make that trip. Maryland, Pennsylvania. I mean, my God, just go, whatever state you live in, go to a search engine, put in the name of your state, and then put mounds next to it. And I guarantee you'll find something. But what I'm finding, and I don't want to let too much, like I said last night, I don't want to let too much out of the bag on this, but I will say this, these things are all, what I'm finding is these mounds are not just random at all. In fact, some of these were built as entire pieces, and they were built over what is now spans 2 to 3 different states. In some cases, ladies and gentlemen, these things were built to work together. Very sophisticated. Not just mounds of dirt and crap like that and places to throw bodies in. But this cover-up, I mean, it has so many facets to it. We could talk about Roosevelt and the New Deal, and we could talk about what he did with, like in Alabama, the Tennessee Valley Association, the TVA, they came in, chopped down all the trees, built dams, flooded out where these hillbillies lived, where there was these ancient Indian sites, flooded that. They did that all over the place. They used the New Deal as a front to be able to go and, under the guise of, we're going to bring civilization to these, rural and podunk people and bring electricity there. And what they did was, went and did all these archaeological digs and raped and pillaged all these sites and took all the antiquities to the Smithsonian. I mean, at Moundville, you had a scant handful of artifacts, and even some of them were just like, faux artifacts, stuff they had made. They had some, quote-unquote, tobacco pipes. We know they were probably smoking more than that. They had pipes. They had some effigy bowls that I got video of, and they had some tools, and that was pretty much fucking it. But yet, nowhere in the museum there at Moundville, Alabama, did it say, oh, by the way, in 1920-something or whenever it was, the Smithsonian came here and did a massive archaeological dig for years and years and years and recovered something like, 20,000, 30,000 or something like that, different artifacts, and they whisked them away to the Smithsonian, never to be seen again. But they don't point that out anywhere in the little museum there. You have to go and look that up for yourself, which you can. It's absolutely true. And you find that with all these different sites. Our government, for decades, centuries, has been very interested in these ancient sites. And they've been excavating them and whisking the artifacts away, never to be seen again. I mean, it's just mind-blowing. The more you dig into this, I mean, these things were built to be vessels, carriers of knowledge in some cases. The invisible college, the way of transmuting information, vast amounts of information to large people through time. It's unbelievable. So that's why, that's why I get frustrated when we aren't able to, like now we have zero budget for the film. That's why I get frustrated with that. That's what it boils down to. I was talking about the sound earlier. Yeah, I ripped like all this stuff out. We're not going to have the Suck Satan's Cock voice anymore. That was coming from my mixer that I had. See what I figured out what the problem was. Why it wasn't sounding very good for so long, is I had rigged it for taking calls and having guests, and never unrigged it from that when we stopped doing that. So last night I just ripped everything out and just plugged the preamp straight into the interface on the computer. Didn't run it through anything else. And it's, it sounded pretty good to me. Now I think it's definitely sounded better than it was before. I haven't heard any reports back from people who've been listening to it on their cell phones or anything yet. People are complaining about that. I can't really help you there. It's kind of intended to be listened to on, computer speakers or something like that. As far as a phone, but they said it worked before. So, we'll have to see. But I saw in the chat logs that Nick Nick Spiro, he had asked about something on our guest list, or not guest list, wish list, our Amazon wish list, which is at my website, theglobalreality.com. Up there, we have all kinds of stuff we need for filmmaking, for the studio, just stuff to get our. That's that's what I've been doing now. I'm just going to put instead of saying we want to have a fundraiser to buy this piece of equipment or whatever. I'm not going to do that anymore. I haven't been doing that. I'm just going to stick this stuff up there on the wish list, and if you want to help us out with something on that and pick up a piece of equipment for us in lieu of making a cash donation, you can do that. And all you have to do is go there and pay for it, and it's convenient and discreet and confidential, and it'll ship it right to me. You don't have to have my address or anything. It'll just ship it right to me automatically. So that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm just going to put the things on there, cameras, multiple disc burners, so we can start producing our own DVDs in-house instead of, buying them from manufacturing places to cut down on cost. I'm going to start doing that for films, because I think that's just a better way to go. So I've got, got that kind of stuff up there, just all kinds of stuff, mixers. But Nick had asked, he wanted to get something off there for the studio, and he'd asked whether what I needed worse, the preamp or the mixer. The mixer with the mixer on there would be great, Nick, to answer your question. I saw that in the chat room. Sorry I didn't get back to you about that sooner. Yeah, it's just what anything on there, all the stuff on there we need, we can use. So it really doesn't much matter which one you pick. But yeah, the mixer probably would be the best. Because I did notice that once the sound is noticeably better, but you can probably tell by listening to it that my voice sounds a little bit higher pitched or something like that. That's because it's not going into a mixer now. It's just going straight into an interface into the computer. So without the microphone going into a tube preamp and then into a mixer, you don't get as much headroom because you're basically just getting a flat microphone sound into. I've got a gate. I've got a compressor and a noise gate on here. That's an outboard one, and then that just goes into the computer from there. So, it really doesn't give it that. Mixing boards, they colorize the sound in a certain way that kind of gives it. It's just that familiar sound that everybody's used to familiar hearing, like when you hear an announcer on the radio and it has that certain kind of crisp quality to it. You don't get that just plugging your mic straight into the computer. That comes through a mixing board, It's the sound of the mixing board, the way they're put together, the components, all that stuff. Yeah, there you go. Want to see if we had any... here's an email. I think I might have had a few. This is from James. He says, "Hi, Josh. I'm a new listener and donator. I apologize if this question has been asked before. Let me first say thank you for validating my suspicion of Alex Jones. I've always had the sense that he was putting on a blatant act when I watch his newscasts. I also began to catch on to the way that he worded articles to be intentionally misleading, leaving out key information." Yeah, him and the Watson brothers. That's their coup de grace right there. He also acts so over the top at times that any middle-of-the-road person regarding this type of conspiracy-minded information would immediately be turned off. He discredits his claims every time he has one of his outbursts. Another researcher who also claimed Jones was knowingly deceptive was Bill Cooper. My question is, how do you view... Oh, here comes the Bill Cooper question. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I've answered it a million times, but I'll answer it again. My question is, how do you view this man and his information, especially regarding the so-called alien agenda? Well, first, before I answer that, you should go watch my film, The Secret Volume 2. It's in its entirety for free on YouTube. But you can get a copy of it on Blu-ray, if you like, or DVD at my website. But yeah, there's a section in Secret Volume 2 there where I have some stuff with William Cooper and him exposing Aaron Russo and stuff like that. Here's the thing. You have to understand, he's been dead now for, 11 years now, almost? A little over 10 years. And I know that for me, and anybody else that I talk to that's researching stuff for any amount of time, the landscape of information and mindsets of this type of stuff was totally different when Bill Cooper was around. Even though it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, 11 years, I can tell you that from being awake during that time, even as well myself, that it was way different of a time than it is now. Well, awake people were not in abundance like they are now. Not at all. I mean, I can remember, 98, 99, talking about Bilderberg Group to people and you being certifiably insane. Insane. I mean, I am not kidding you. I am not exaggerating to you. I'm talking about people would literally say, you need to get help. You need to get help. You are not right in the head. When you would bring up something as fucking asinine as the Bilderberg Group. Now it's passé. To the point of of really us understanding that, again, they're the front men. They're the ones that are put out there in front. They're the quarterbacks that are put out there in front to make it look like they've got the real power, but they're nothing more but mere spokesmen for the real power. And so, 11 years, 10 years after Bill Cooper's death, it is impossible to know all the ways that his perception of this information and his feelings about it. It's impossible to know how that would have changed. What I'm saying is people take things that he said 10, 15, 20 years ago and think that still applies to this day or that he would still feel that way today. What I'm saying is there's just been so much more information and so much more research done during the time that he's been dead that trying to say, trying to get a grasp on what he would think about stuff that was going on today, or trying to get a grasp on, Bill Cooper said this. Yeah, but how do you know he'd still feel like that today? You know what I mean? Because people say, Bill Cooper said this over there. Yeah, he did say that, but you just can't know if he would, because there's stuff I've said on this show before 100 billion times in the past that I don't believe now, or I don't, and that I've only been on air for almost 5 years. But there are tons of things, tons of shows and stuff that I've said that since then, that time I've grown and my perception of this stuff has changed. And my understanding of it has changed. And I've changed. So, I kind of think you have to take some of the stuff that he talks about, because he was still a Christian too. Who knows? He could have been working for the Christian right as well. We don't know. Who knows? But I don't have anything bad to say about Bill Cooper at all. But I will say this: I don't agree with him or Jordanius Maximus. Jordan Maxwell says that Christianity came from sun worship, and Bill Cooper says the opposite. I don't think either one of them are right, because there was just so much more before that. My point is that it's hard to judge what his opinion was on something 10 or 15, 20 years ago, because you don't know how that would have changed now. To say, Bill Cooper believed this. Yeah, he believed that from whatever recording you heard and whatever year it was made. But since he's dead, judging what his opinion would be on something now, to me, is irrelevant. I've heard a lot of stuff, mistakes and stuff that he's made and stuff. I don't agree with a lot of the slant and the blame that he placed it at. But again, you don't know that he would still have that. The stuff that I don't agree with about Bill Cooper, you can't say that he would still, to this day, maybe even feel that same way, because he was a researcher like me. He was somebody who was constantly digging into this stuff. And when you're a real researcher, like I said before, your beliefs about this stuff are constantly in flux, because you're constantly, or you should be anyway, constantly getting new information from staying on top of your game and not stopping. So any opinion I would have on Bill Cooper would be based, it wouldn't be doing him or me a service by giving a judgment on his information. Because we could say, oh, well, he talked about the alien thing first, and he came back later and said, oh, it was bullshit. The guy did work in high-level Navy, Navy ops, and he worked in some high-level stuff. So that right there alone is, you could very well think he is suspect. But again, it's all speculation, and I just, even if I say, I like Bill Cooper's work here on this certain thing, blah blah blah, Mystery Babylon, whatever. It's just, I liked that piece that he did then and the way that he did it, whatever, and that's fine. But any farther than that, it's hard for me to really, say what he would believe now, and if that would be, I think it would be totally different. I'll tell you this, I think he would have been all over this CMP stuff like white on rice. He was kind of getting there. Very well could have been why they axed him. I mean, I know that he did some shows about Bogue rights and some of the conspiracy involving the Mormons. And he did mention some of these types that he never said the Council for National Policy by name in any of the shows that I've ever heard, and I've heard everything he's ever done. But he was, certainly on the trail of these phony right wingers. I mean, when he exposed Russo, which I put, Aaron Russo, which I put in the Secret Volume 2, that was huge. That was, my God, that was in the late 80s or something. Wasn't it 90s? I don't remember when that was, 95? And here he is in 2005 or 2006, whenever it was, coming out with his American Freedom to Fascism, and all of a sudden he's on the Alex Jones show, and all of a sudden he's a truth movement hero for this movie. But there's Bill Cooper, man, as usual, 1995, busting his ass long before. I often get compared to him, but if I think in that, if you're going to make that comparison between myself and Bill Cooper, that would be one of them. Is that we both seem to have this ability to be able to call out the rats years before a lot of other people catch on to it, man. It's always been that way for me. I'll call somebody out and be like, that motherfucker right there is a rat. I guarantee it. I'll put my left nut on it. And they'll be like, oh, no, you're wrong. That person's awesome. Blah, 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 blah. 6 months, a year later, oh, man, you're exactly right. That person's a total fucking op. It's happened to me dozens of times. You just get a nose for it after a while, man. I'm vaguely aware that he changed his views later in his life. What do you account this to? Again, what do I count it to? I count it to the fact that it's just time, research. He was a researcher. Your perception of this stuff changes. Your perspective on it changes. Thanks for the show, man. The humanity in your voice and presentation is comforting to hear after being deceived so many times. Also, how do you feel about Jesus and his place in history? Wow. Well, that's a deep one. I don't know if I have time to answer that one, man. I tell you what, this is honest to God the truth. I feel the same way about Jesus that I feel about Quetzalcoatl and Onas and Viracocha and Buddha and Muhammad. I think these were all, according to the ancient Sumerian texts, these were all incarnations of the same thing. Enki being banished for setting up the Brotherhood of the Snake, the Brotherhood of the Serpent, trying to teach mankind in secret who we are, where we come from, what our destiny is. And when this was found out, they banished him, Enki, to be reborn in these fragile human bodies, and in every incarnation he would take on different aspects, but all these different aspects he would still be teaching the same thing. So that's what I'm on the trail of now. This Quetzalcoatl and the feathered serpent, and how it relates to all this stuff. There were the worship of the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl, was going on here long before Jesus. But Quetzalcoatl was, put no other gods before me. He could walk on water. He had 12 disciples. So, again, I've talked about this reincarnating energy, and that's what's so ridiculous about world religions and how they get us, and how it's controlled by this elite priest class, because if you get down to the real truth, you find that all these different religions, oh my God, they've got us fighting over who's the better incarnation of the same guy. And it really boils down to that. And if we can get that out to the world, folks, we might be able to get some traction in getting people to stop fighting over this stuff when they realize the truth of it. So there you go, James. There's my question. Thank you so much for sending in your email. Appreciate your support, my friend. Us from Rick. He says, hi, Josh. I've been following your shows about the rock wall, and it certainly does seem that the genocide of Native Americans was at least in part to cover up this information. Yeah. Well, absolutely. And that's the whole thing is that, Rick, all this information I'm finding, that has been for years attributed to these ancient Indians. What they haven't been attributing to is where they got it from. And that's the reason why the genocide had to happen. So they couldn't tell people where where their tribes got this knowledge from. As for me, I've been looking more into South India. I just found out that Indian legends talk about a lost sunken continent starting at Sri Lanka and going down to Madagascar called Kumari Kundam. Have you heard of it? Isn't that like Lemuria or some shit? I thought Lemuria was like in that part of the world, India, in that area. I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but yeah, I think that somehow relates to Lemuria. The Tamil people, dark-skinned Dravidians, pre-Aryan Indians, have many legends about this being a great civilization that they are descendants from. Now, from sites I have read, the Dravidians, Tamil, etc., seem to be related to East African Somalians, Ethiopians, etc. Africans seem to have migrated east before and during the Ice Age and helped set up civilizations off South Asia that are now submerged, and they are even finding megalithic cities off India. It seems to me that the genocide of Africans may be as related to Kumari Kundam, ancient Black Asia, and Lemuria as the Native Americans are to the Atlantean things you were uncovering with Rockwall and so on. Also, I've heard that California is named after a black woman called Caliphus, and some say that East Africans made it as far as California once. It seems to me that Africans and Americans may be descended from the Atlanteans and the Lemurians. Anyway, all this stuff is interesting. Well, no, that's they found right, but they didn't call them Atlanteans and Lemurians. It was a dark skinned race and a white skinned race, and they've actually found their names etched together on rocks in Oklahoma that are thousands of years, 7,000 BC or something. Yeah, that's awesome info, Rick. Thanks for that email. All right, let's get into the news tonight because we've got some crazy shit to talk about. This one, I gotta go to this one first. I'm sorry, I've been chomping at the bit to talk about this one all day. Holy fucking shit! I know you probably all heard about this. I'm probably the last goddamn guy on air today to talk about this. I'm pretty sure everybody else already has. So I'm sorry to beat you over the goddamn head with it again, but I just this is ridiculous. Lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, I love this. They just randomly found this just now. Oh, yeah, just random. Archaeologists have found a small room in Mayan ruins where royal scribes apparently used walls like a blackboard to keep track of astronomical records in the society's intricate calendar some 1,200 years ago. The walls reveal the oldest known astronomical tables from the Maya. Scientists already knew they must have been keeping such records at that time, but until now, the oldest known examples dated from about 600 years later. Astronomical records were key to the Mayan calendar, which has gotten some attention recently because of doomsday warnings that it predicts the end of the world this December. Experts say it makes no such prediction. The new finding provides a bit of backup. The calculations include a time span longer than 6,000 years that could extend well beyond 2012. Oh, really? Oh, well, that isn't that convenient. Yeah. And they're just finding this just now because, I mean, come on. This is, and this worries me because the more I hear them say, when I was hearing them say, it's coming. 2012, December 21st, get ready. I used to think, oh, that's such horseshit, And then when I started hearing them say, oh, it's all bullshit. Oh, yeah, 2012, December 21st, yeah, nothing's going to happen there. That's all a bunch of crap. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Look, we just found this new calendar here that goes 6,000 years longer. See? We just now found this. Look, here, take this. That worries me, Because then that makes me go, oh, shit, something is going to happen, isn't it? Because it really is. It's always the opposite. If they get on TV and say, hey, how you doing, man? Everything's great. Everything's wonderful. Economy's good. There's jobs. Life is grand. Get out there and live it. Man, you better start fucking bunkering down. And when they get up there and tell you, oh, gloom and doom, oh, everything is so bad and terrible, feel bad about yourself and your life and your community, that's when you need to be like, you know what, fuck you. No. That's what you want. I'm going to do the opposite of that. Because that's exactly how it works with these people. Why would they go into those numbers if the world is going to come to an end in this year? Because they didn't say the world was going to come to an end, you moron. The end of the known world, the world as we know it. And when you think about the world as we know it, and how little it would take, really, to shake this whole fucking thing to its foundations, it's not hard to understand that there could be something to this. Now, I'm not saying absolutely something's going to happen on December 21st, 2012, but I'm not saying something isn't either. But 2013 seems to be, something to watch for as well. But in any event, the saying that it's the end of the world, they always use that, and it's complete bullshit because that's not what it said. The end of the known world could mean any number of things. That's what got me, man, when I was, back in the 90s and stuff, when X-Files was on, man, that was my shit, And when, I'll never forget that last episode where they go out to the Hopi ruins, man, and Smoky Man's in there, smoking one through his fucking trach hole in his neck, telling Mulder he kept him alive all this time just so he could get there, so he could crush him, so he could see the look on his face when he told him the truth. That on December 21st, 2012, extraterrestrials were going to recolonize Earth using humans as their host bodies. And there was nothing he could do about it. Dude, that shit was so epic. And, I thought it was funny because out of all the 2012 stuff that you hear, theories, even from the kookiest places, and even with the kookiest theories, you never really hear that parroted much. And you would think, that as much as they like to scaremonger people with the threat of aliens, that would have been, a key meme that they would have zoned in on. But they haven't really zoned in on that much. And that's kind of drawn, a bit of suspicion to me, only because, there's that pilot to The Lone Gunman, like a year before 9/11 or 6 months before 9/11, something like that. Hijack airliner, flight remote control into the World Trade Center. And so to have seen that, to heard them talk about, this weird, I don't know about you, man, but I don't think out of all even the stuff that sounds plausible in reality about 2012 pole shifts, all those things are plausible. Solar flares, sunstorms, all this stuff, earthquakes. I got to tell you what, nothing scares none of that. The idea of any of that scares the shit out of me more than that one does from the Smoking Man and the X-Files. God damn. And Chris Carter and all those guys had connections to the CIA 8 Ways to Sunday. I mean, there was some 9/11 truther a few years back that went to some Comic-Con and asked him about getting CIA script approval and stuff like that. And one of the guys straight up pretty much just outed Chris Carter right there on stage and said, you'd have to ask Chris about the CIA thing. He had more of a working relationship with them than I did. Point fucking blank, dude. They're just serious. That idea of, these, and they looked horrible too. If you see these aliens, the way they look, they're just menacing, scary looking things. The idea of these things coming on December 21st and using us all as host bodies to then hatch, their new alien colonization on Earth. God damn, that's fucking scary shit right there, man. And yeah, there's Nick was talking about this in the chat room the other night. I've talked about this before. Yeah, the intro to that X-Files movie, Fight the Future. I'll never forget. Strange thing, Nick. I don't know if I've told you this. I'll tell you a story. This is what's really odd. I didn't know about the rock wall then when that movie came out, 98, 99, wherever it was. I remember I went and saw that movie with my mom, actually. And my mom took me to go see that movie. And guess where we went and saw that movie at? Just coincidentally enough. Rockwall. I saw that movie, X-Files Fight the Future, the first one, in Rockwall, yeah. And it starts out, beginning of the movie, North Texas, 350,000 years ago, in this cave with the aliens and these cavemen, and this black oil gets on them, and they turn into aliens, and then it shows North Texas, modern day. Of course, they show it as a desert. And then, of course, they finds the skull, falls down this hatch, and there's contamination. There's the alien thing again, and it happens in Dallas. And they blow up a building in downtown Dallas where they've stored these bodies at to, destroy the evidence of this alien virus. And I remember when they shot that here in Dallas, they blew up a building and everything downtown. It was all there. All the actors were here. But there's a scene where they show this mine shaft thing, or this, ancient shaft where they fall down into where these aliens had been. And they pan up, and it's, it's photoshopped or whatever, but you can see the Dallas skyline in the background. And the distance that the Dallas skyline looks away from that location in that shot is, I'm not kidding you, identically how the Dallas skyline looks if you're standing in Rockwall near the I-30 bridge, close to Lake Ray Hubbard, close to where the Rockwall is. It's really unbelievable. So it's made me wonder, if that was that little thing in that X-Files movie was a reference to that. There's been reports of people seeing strange things out on Lake Ray Hubbard in Rockwall there, where they buried some of the wall into the lake, or some of these burial mounds or whatever they were, slate rock things. There's some kids that saw some web-footed reptilian thing walking on water out there once a few years ago. But I've got not one, but two articles here tonight on this Mayan thing. I think the other one might actually have some different info in it. Yeah, I think it does. Give me just a second here. A vast city. This one is a little bit. Oh, yeah, this one is actually different. The Mayans reveal their darkest mysteries. New excavation reveals secrets of their calendar, including black-clad figures and symbols never seen before. A vast city built by the ancient Mayan civilization and discovered nearly a century ago in modern-day Guatemala is finally starting to yield its secrets. Excavating for the first time in the sprawling complex of Zuten in Guatemala's Petén region, archaeologists have uncovered a structure that contains what appears to be a workspace for the town's scribe. Its walls were adorned with unique patterns, one depicting a lineup of men in black uniforms and hundreds of scrawled numbers, many calculations relating to the Mayan calendar. That's interesting, isn't it? A lineup of men in black uniforms? What were these, time-traveling men in black or something they were depicting? That's nutty, isn't it? One wall of the structure, thought to be a house, is covered with tiny, millimeter-thick red and black glyphs, unlike any seen before at other Mayan sites. Some appear to represent the various calendrical cycles charted by the Mayans, the 260-day ceremonial calendar, the 365-day solar calendar, the 584-day cycle of the planet Venus, and the 780-day cycle of Mars. 4 long numbers on the north wall of the ruined house relate to the Maya calendar, and computations about the moon, sun, and possibly Venus and Mars. The dates may stretch some 7,000 years into the future. These are the first calculations Mayan archaeologists have found that seem to tabulate all these cycles in that way. Although they all involve common multiples of key calendrical and astronomical cycles, the exact significance of these particular spans of time is not known. Archaeologist William Saturno of Boston University in the United States, who led the exploration and excavation, said, "For the first time, we get to see what may be actual records kept by a scribe whose job was to be the official record keeper of a Maya community." See, now this is the problem. And let me stop right there. See, this is the problem. Like they just said here, archaeologist William Saturno of Boston University. See, that's a problem because the only people that get funded, get the kind of funding that you need to do these kind of digs and stuff, are people who are getting grants from, you know, the Rockefeller Foundation or the Carnegie Endowment for the Arts, or Smithsonian Institute. That they give these grants so that they can control whatever findings are found. And the archaeologists really are just hired guns to do the dirty work for these elite benefactors who provide the money for this stuff to be done. And I'm telling you, that's what we need. That's what I need. That's what I need to come forward for this rock wall thing. I need somebody out there who's got access to big amounts of resources and hates these elite cocksuckers running this planet, that wants to fund something so we can control that flow of information, so we can get it out to the people before they get their dirty, grubby hands on it. The scientists say that despite popular belief, there is no sign that the Mayan calendar or the world was to end in the year 2012. Again, there's that thing, you know, the end of the known world, the world as we know it, the world changing due to a pole shift, a solar pole shift, a comet, a meteor, an earthquake, any event. There are numerous amounts of events, plagues, you name it, zombie apocalypse. There are many things that would change the world as we know it. You know, 12-strand DNA activation, ascending into a higher realm of reality. Don't overlook these vibratory fields that are being produced. I mean, the sun's resonance and the earth's resonance are off the charts right now. They can't explain why the sun and the earth are both vibrating at such a high intense hertz right now, but they are. Our resonance is just going through the roof. And generally, this kind of resonance is generally associated with vibration that happens when a planet and its people are about to ascend into a fourth dimensional transitional shift. Now, you can think this is hogwash all you want, but folks, when you look at the evidence of how they've put the fluoride in our water, which calcifies your pineal gland, which keeps this process from happening, when you look at the fact they put MSG in our food, which keeps your DNA from being able to resonate and sing in that way for 12-strand DNA activation to happen. When you look at all this stuff, chemtrails, the rest of it, it makes it very clear that they have this knowledge, and that's part of the restriction of this knowledge. And I think now more than ever that chemtrails are part of some energy web. I mean, every time we have a full moon, an eclipse, something like that, supermoon, we get whited out as if they're trying to block out that energy. So you can't tell me these guys don't full well know about this energy and about the effects it has and everything else. They damn sure do. Man, oh man, oh man. Well, we got more news. Got it already been going almost an hour here. Whew. No wonder I'm hot and winded. All right, I'm going to take a break. Come back. Get some more interesting news for you here tonight to get into. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Thanks for staying up late with us, Moonbats. Lots more for you here tonight. This is the Global Reality. I'm right back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. We got a lot more crazy fucking news to get into in this segment of the show tonight. So thanks so much for being with us. And we are going to jump back into that here in just a bit. My website where this broadcast originates from, of course, is theglobalreality.com. That's theglobalreality.com. There you'll find all of the things pertaining to my work, from all the documentary films I've made, video clips, archive shows, everything up there. And I am seriously considering going to a pay archive system here in the near future. Only because I crunched the numbers on it, man. I'm just retarded if I don't. I'm losing thousands of dollars of possible. I mean, it very well could work out for us because of our way our listening audience is now, where, I mean, wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to have fundraisers or any chip-in banners and stuff like that a month? Wouldn't that be wonderful? And I was crunching the numbers on that with how many listeners we have and how many. I was sitting there going, my God, $2 a show, in no time. People spend more a day on crap. You spend more buying a shitty cup of coffee or a shitty, pack of Pall Malls or something, or a shitty drive-through burger or something than you would spend getting information from the show. So I'm seriously considering doing that in the near future, just because I got to do what I got to do to survive. I got to do what I got to do to keep this thing going. And if it comes to that, I'd rather do that than some of the other options. But we'll see. TheGlobalReality.com. We have chip-in banner there for the bills for the month. It'd be nice if we get another $100 or so in this week. We've got a little bit in yesterday. Thanks to everybody who chipped in what they could since last night. I appreciate that very much. I was frustrated last night. I had to let it go. You can be mad at me all you want for, speaking my mind on my own show. Imagine that, right? And you may not always like the things I have to say, but, sometimes it's necessary. So, I don't apologize for that, for being honest and telling you, what the reality of this is. And that's, that's all it boils down to. The number of people that we have as listeners versus the amount of people we have that keep us going is not equal. And if the only way I have to make that equal, and I'll probably lose some listeners. But, I was doing the math on this. My God. We got 600. We almost reached our. My God, we had 613 on Facebook at the first of the week. Now we got 656. 10 more, and we'll have the magical 666. I think somebody really thought I was serious, because I was joking around. What was it, Monday? And I said, whoever gets to like number 666 on Facebook, we'll give a prize to. And I will give you something. But I was joking around. I said, we'll give them a rotten cow head with maggots on it to worship or something. And boy, the likes have just went through the roof. Somebody wants that goddamn maggot cow head. God damn it. Somebody's like, I want it. I need it. I need it for my worship. Give it to me, Reeves. Give it to me. Like, Jesus Christ. Somebody's making profiles just so they can get to number 666 so they can claim that fucking rotten cow head. I'd probably, unfortunately, I just don't have any access to any rotten cow heads right now. But I'll send you a a rawhide bone from dog chews on or something. How about that? I'll send you some of my pubes. How about that? No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't send you my pubes. That's gross. Anyway, theglobalreality.com. There, please help us out if you can, and help us out with the film budget as well. Boy, just an explosion of Mayan news today. I mean, we had 2 stories here already, and in the 2 stories that we've had already tonight, we had talked about, the common conversation. Like I said, when they were all, because they've changed their tune. Notice that this year, every year up till now, it's been 2012, the Doomsday, and 2012 with John Cusack as our only hope. Help me, John Cusack. You're my only hope. And then we got to 2012. We actually got to this year. We're 5 months into this year now, all fucking ready. Where does the time go? It goes into this fucking show and this fucking research and these fucking films. That's where it goes. For me, anyway. And, all we've heard here this year, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the mainstream has gone from 2012, the apocalypse, 2012, the end of time, 2012, doom and destruction, to now, it's all just cockamamie horse shit. Oh, no. Blah, blah, blah. You guys notice that? Am I the only one that's noticed that? Because they hammered it real hard for at least the past 10 years, even longer, about 2012 and all this, the end of time. And it's been a lot of fear-mongering, but then we get to 2012, and all of a sudden, everybody's saying, oh, no, it's crap. Here, we just found a new Mayan place that we never known about till now. Yeah, right. And these guys have had ground-penetrating radar through satellites and everything for years, decades. All of a sudden, in May of 2012, they find some never-before-seen calendar that actually shows it extends another 7,000. That's because if you actually read what that is, they were astronomical calculations that went that far ahead in time of cyclical events and cyclical things that happened that they could tell were going to happen because of past events that they had already documented. That's what it was. That's why it extends 7,000 years into the future. That doesn't have anything to do with the end of the known world and the end of this age. The end of one age and the beginning of another age. And that's truly what it represents. But this right here is bad news. I don't think anything scared me yet. Oh, the 2012, other than the X-Files, like I said before, the X-Files alien invasion thing. I think this one might even take the cake on that one. Just because of what I know of, Himmler and the occult and the rituals he did at Wavelsburg Castle, where Michael Aquino did rituals as well. He admits to that in some footage in The Secret Rite Volume 2. Michael Aquino, of course, was working with Army PSYOPs, and we've talked about that a million times. And you're not going to sit here and make me believe that this was just an accident. They're going to try to make it, it's just an accident. Some Butterfingers scientist accidentally, of course. Oh, it was just an accident. Right. Accidentally drops a black skull, a black Mayan magical skull, mind you, shatters it, destroys it. It was the one that was once owned by Heinrich Himmler. And now they're saying that this is going to cause some big giant curse. Now we're all fucked. December 21st, 2012 is going to be the end after all. So great. That's just wonderful news. Kind of news you want to have first thing in the morning with a cup of coffee, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Apocalypse now? German drops Mayan magical skull owned by Himmler, and it could mark the end of the world on 12/21/12. If the world ends on December 21st, blame a German Butterfingers who dropped a volcanic rock skull, once owned by SS overlord Heinrich Himmler, in his laboratory. This is, oh, he just accidentally dropped it. Right, no. I don't know. We haven't been taking antiquities and smashing them and destroying them. No, for years. No. What would have been even more fucked is if the thing would have, like, rematerialized and put itself back together and just floated and been like, fuck you, I'll eat your soul. That would have been rad. According to legend, the Mayan skull, which was stolen from Tibet. There you go, Rick. You're talking about Tibet in that email you sent. Now, what the fuck was a black Mayan skull doing in Tibet? Hello? That should be a clue right there. Was stolen from Tibet by the Nazis and imbued for believers with magical powers to enable mankind to survive an apocalypse. Well, I mean, that didn't sound so bad. I mean, we hear the Nazis get a pretty bad rap for things, but that doesn't sound like that's too bad. So let me get this straight. Nazis, who've been the predominant major bad guy besides Al-Qaeda for the past 100 years, these evil, bad Nazis that killed all those wonderful, loving Jews, imbued inside of this black skull magical powers that would enable mankind to survive the apocalypse. And somebody broke it. Who's the evil bastard here? I mean, we ought to be fucking nuking Germany right now. You know what, you bastards, for that? You don't even make it to the apocalypse. Guess what? Apocalypse now, motherfucker. Here comes Slim Pickens right in. Woo! Germany's gone, boys. Oh, my God. Really? I mean, who's the evil motherfucker now? Way to go, Germany. You just fucked us in the ass. Everything was all good. We were riding clear. 2012 was looking good. Looks like we were going to dodge that bullet. Maybe we might ascend into the fourth dimension, you know, but things were going to be good. And you stupid motherfuckers went and ruined it for all of us. We had a goddamn Hitlerian magical skull that was encoded in it, powers to save mankind after an apocalypse. That's convenient. Thanks, Hitler. Appreciate that. You know, he may have killed a bunch of Jews, but goddamn it, right there, he was looking out for all of mankind, wasn't he? And who had to fucking fuck it all up for us? The Germans. For some, this is a catastrophe that foretells the end of the world, but others advise us to keep calm and carry on. Oh, I'm fucking worried now. Oh, god damn. Pack your shit. You ever seen Boondock Saints? Remember Rocco and Boondock Saints? Pack your shit. We gotta go. He's grabbing fucking toasters and shit. Random shit. We gotta go. Oh, man. See, I don't like that. Keep calm and carry on. Nothing to see here. Oh, God. We're fucked. Get your helmet, boys. It's going to be bumpy. Goddamn Germans. I'm telling you, the fucking Germans ought to be stricken from goddamn everything for this. Seriously, call the fucking airstrike in right now. They should be at minimum, banned from all Olympic participation this year, I would say. That's just, my goodness. Yeah. Oh, we just accidentally drops it. Oh, sorry. It was probably put down somewhere, a bit wobbly. An eyewitness told a German newspaper. What? Now, wait a minute. He was holding this thing, and he dropped it, and it broke. That's what they're saying. But then some alleged unnamed eyewitness tells a German newspaper it was probably put down somewhere a bit wobbly. No, wait a minute. To me, eyewitness and probably don't go hand in hand. Either you saw it, you were an eyewitness, or you weren't. Yes, I'm an eyewitness. I saw everything. Well, probably it was put down somewhere a bit wobbly. How would you know, motherfucker? Did you see it? Well, no. But you said you were an eyewitness. Well, yes. Something stinks here. Suddenly, it crashed on the floor. A big piece broke off the chin. It's really tragic. Yeah, it's tragic. Fucking, it's tragic that Hitler was like trying to maybe I've had it wrong about this guy all along. He was, at least he imbued some magical powers into this thing to make us survive an apocalypse, and then a German breaks it? Is that poetic justice or what? So in the end, we got fucked by Germans. Yet again. Thanks a lot, Germany, you sorry motherfuckers. You and your fucking lederhosen and your goddamn 2 big glasses of beer and your fucking German fest and your Wiener Schnitzel. God damn you. Thomas Ritter, a historian who owns the skull, said it was given to him by the family of a former British soldier present at the 1945 arrest of Himmler, who ran the Gestapo, the SS, and the extermination program, which murdered 6 million Jews. By the way, one of our listeners a couple weeks ago, I'm sorry I forgot about this. She may not even need the information now. It was for one of her kids. I'm sorry. I'm just so busy. I forgot about this. One of our listeners asked me, I don't know, I never got into the whole Hoaxacost thing, and I know that the Red Cross fudged numbers on the Holocaust. I don't have any information on that. And one of my listeners, I think, wanted some information on the real stuff of the Holocaust, like the real story of it, like the conspiracy of it or whatever. And I just never have gotten into into any of that stuff, so I didn't really know what direction to push her. But if anybody out there has any credible stuff, don't send me stuff from Stormfront and stuff. I'm not, don't send me shit from white supremacist websites. If you've got some credible stuff out there on, the Holocaust, the truth of it, fudging numbers, whatever it may be, please email that to me, not for my sake, but for the sake of one of my listeners, so I can forward that over to her. Because it's just not something I've ever researched. I mean, I've heard about a lot about, and I know that like the lampshade story about how they made lampshades out of Jew skin was absolutely bunk. It was absolute bullshit. That was made up. There's several things like that. But to even talk about it means you're anti-Semitic. To say that these people that are running the world would do something like this. I mean, look, they're after the Sephardic bloodline. That's what they want to wipe out. What Rick was bringing up earlier in regards to India and regards to Somalia and Africa and the Native Americans, that ties in with that. Because any indigenous people that have ties back to these ancient lands, anybody who's Sephardic has ties back to those ancient lands, be it Jews or be it Muslims or anything else. Sephardic Jews, you've got the Sephardic Muslims, it's all the same bloodline. And that's why any of these people who existed back in those times are in the crosshairs of the elite. Because when you have stuff like the Behistun inscription in Iran, which talks about, this inscription from King Darius, all my bloodline descendants will rule over these 23 lands forever. When you trace those bloodlines, it just happens to be the bloodlines that are in charge today that make up, the leaders of the world and the people who own the money machines and the weapon machines and the drug machines. And they believe that their ancestors were the rulers over those ancient lands, Iran, Iraq, all of that. And because of the knowledge they have gained from the acquisition of these ancient texts and manuscripts and everything else, from the looting of the museums and looting of antiquities all over the world, they now have a better picture of just exactly who and what they're after. They consider the Sephardic inhabitants of the Middle East, Israel, Iraq, Iran, they consider those people to be mongrel people. and to not to be the original bloodline descendants of the Aryans who used to rule over those part of the world. And that's what they want. They want their land back. So, all this stuff about the Jews running the world and the Jews are in charge, they are using the Jews as a scapegoat in all of this, and they're going to pull the plug on them eventually and flush them down the toilet the same way they want to flush all the other Sephardics and Muslims down the toilet. Didn't mean to get off on a tangent there. Let me get back to this article here. He added that he believed its accident would anger the gods and that the world would still be turning on December 22nd. The skull is 1,000 years old and one of the legendary Mayan skulls that belong to the lost and ancient race of Mexico, which are said to be infused with magical powers. Well, it's not one of the crystal skulls because those weren't made out of any kind of volcanic rock. So I think they're confusing something there. The 3-pound skull is made of volcanic rock, and according to Ritter, was seized by SS men sent on an expedition to Tibet between 1937 and 1939 to look for the lost city of Shangri-La. Ritter said the Nazis were convinced that 13 such skulls existed and that whoever owned them would have control of the world. Himmler died on May 23, 1945, using a poison capsule hidden in his mouth to take his life. The Mayan shaped 13 skulls, one of which 9 were colored and represented. See, that's not one of them. They were all made out of crystal. They weren't made out of any kind of volcanic rock. I'm not saying there wasn't other skulls that had magical powers and had other things, but from what I understand, only like 2 of those actual skulls have ever actually been found that we know of. So that's just a highly, highly interesting story there. Lots of crazy archaeological stories as well. The heat is on. Monster sunspot could put Earth in the crosshairs of powerful solar storms. A mind-bogglingly big sunspot has appeared in the past few days, which could mean that the Earth is about to be blasted by powerful solar storms. It means it's probably going to be hot, real hot, probably tomorrow. Known as AR-1476, it was spotted by NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory spacecraft, which launched in 2010. Its diameter of 60,000 miles is many times that of the Earth, which measures just under 8,000 miles across. The sunspot is so ginormous that it's possible to view it with home telescopes, though experts warn that these must be fitted with sun filters to prevent permanent eye damage. Yeah, you think? Oh, look there, hey, honey, somebody said you can see a sunspot. Give me them binoculars. It's a clear, nice, sunny day. I'm going to go out there and see if I can see that sunspot. Here you go, honey. In a tweet, the SDO mission described the sunspot as a monster and predicted that a huge solar flare or coronal mass ejection could erupt as a result, meaning the Earth could be hosed by radiation. Now, my most recent installment of the Reality of Illusion series, which is a 3-year ongoing series of mini films I've been doing for YouTube release only so far. And our current installment is called The Secrets of the Sun. And in that film, we talk about some of the different solar events that have been happening and some of these strange objects that have been occurring around the sun. Now, what I noticed is that there seems to be some kind of a connection between whatever these solar anomalies are and sunspots themselves and coronal mass ejections. There's some of the footage in that mini film from NASA that shows, something ejecting itself into, shooting something into the sun, and you see these solar flares happen. Well, since it's been almost 2 weeks, I guess 2 weeks tomorrow since that video was released, and it just had a ton of views, we have had yet another strange appearance of some kind of weird craft around the sun. Now, This occurred last Friday, and the article pertaining to the sunspots, so this happened on the 5th. The article pertaining to the sunspots came out on the 8th. So it does seem that after the appearance of these, whatever they are, around these anomalies around the sun, we have, beyond a doubt, categorically seen an increase in solar activity and an increase in coronal mass ejection. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say something or someone, just no question, is messing with the sun. YouTube user says he has proof of NASA covering up evidence of aliens after he found a UFO hovering near the sun. A YouTube user claims he has found proof that NASA is covering up evidence of aliens because the agency's spacecraft that monitors the sun went offline after he spotted a UFO on its video feed. On May 5th, user Rob1979-1 posted a YouTube video of a mysterious-looking object hovering near the sun. The footage was taken from video that the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory beamed back to Earth and streamed online. But the claims are likely to fall on deaf ears as NASA after two other similar sightings of alien spaceships have been debunked with simple explanations. No, they haven't been simple explanations. Because they are not explaining why these appearances always, and I mean always, coincide with coronal mass ejections. They are not addressing that issue one bit. And that is the issue here. But as they always do, they never address the real heart of the issue. They always say, well, they just say, oh, don't worry, it's this, and that, and they give an explanation of what they officially say it is, and that's it. But they never address the meat and potatoes of the issue. And the meat and potatoes of this issue is the same thing. Why is it that we see these strange things around the sun, and they always coincide with coronal mass ejections and massive increase in solar activity? The video zooms into a pyramid-shaped object hovering above the sun's surface. One day later, NASA shut down the spacecraft video feed as it went into emergency sun reacquisition mode. Right. This is a cover-up to prevent us from seeing these things again. NASA must have seen this video and started making plans to change the way you and I are allowed to view it, he said in a second video. I think this is proof that NASA are covering this up. NASA are clearly trying to stop us from looking at the sun, he added. This is the third time in recent months that believers have pointed out proof of UFOs based on supposedly unexplained phenomenon on NASA's space monitoring equipment. In December, a man says he found a cloaked spaceship orbiting Mercury. March brought the Death Star, a planet-sized object seen refueling at the sun, similar to Rob 1979-1's triangular discovery, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I mean, we're the influx. They should have put my movie on here. These other little crappy little videos. But, yeah. There you go. But they always, they always give these crap excuses and never ever address what the real questions are. Is global cooling on the way? Lake sediment proves that the sun cooled Earth 2,800 years ago, and it could happen again. Here we go. When the Greek poet Homer was writing the Odyssey around 2,800 years ago, the Earth went through an abrupt period of cooling caused by the sun, and the same could happen again very soon. Scientists at the GFZ German Research Center for Geosciences analyzed lake sediment in Lake Medfir-Mar and found direct evidence of a sudden cooling caused by a solar minimum. Some scientists suspect that the current period of high solar activity, including increased sunspots and solar storms this year, will be followed by a minimum period, which could even cause an ice age. And that's, yeah, see, that's stuff I've seen that concern with Vulcan. And Vulcan's coming around 2013. And I've thought for the longest time that the whole Nibiru thing was a red herring. And they didn't mention this other planet that orbits on the other side of the sun, on the other side of Mercury, where we can't see it. and is said to cause effects on Earth around 2013 and beyond, and cause pole shifts and earthquakes, and always seems to happen around the coming of a solar minimum in an ice age. So I think the Vulcan thing is definitely something to still pay attention to. If GFZ research is correct, a new solar minimum could have a direct impact on Earth's climate, cooling our planet drastically and knocking the predictions of global warming alarmists out of whack. And yeah, I think this is why there's such a why they're jacking gas prices up. Everybody's hoarding oil all around. I mean, there's more oil in the ground, folks, than we can ever use. They tell us, oh, we're getting close to running out, and they perpetrate this myth of peak oil on us to justify charging us more, when what they're doing is they're just, they're hoarding they're hoarding this stuff. And they're looking for our alternative fuels to provide heat sources, because it's going to get chilly in this motherfucker. Hey, fuck the movies, fuck the films, fuck the radio show. Anybody got $25,000 I can borrow? Because if you got $25,000 I can borrow, here's what I can get for my $25,000. For $25,000, I can get a membership into the mythical Club 33 at Disneyland in California. Now, this has been Club 33, of course. Come on. A secret place inside Disneyland, high-level people, heads of state, Freemasons. Walt Disney was a Mason, of course. And boy, I'd love to be able to go in there and have a hidden camera on me. And I mean, there's just no telling what you'd pick up. Disneyland invites new members to exclusive and mythical Club 33 for the first time in a decade. Disneyland is inviting 100 people from a waiting list to join their exclusive and expensive private hideaways, Club 33 and 1901, where members will need more than a pair of Mickey Mouse ears to get in. The Los Angeles Times reports Disney announced the limited offering of memberships for an initial fee of $25,000 and annual dues of $10,000. In return, they will have access to a private restaurant at the park's New Orleans Square area and other perks. Do you have to suck the almighty cock of Jobulon before you get in there? Because if so, then you can go ahead and keep your membership. I don't swing that way. Thanks. So there you go. If you got $25,000 to spend, you want to go hang out with Freemasons inside a pedophile theme park, then there you go. Go on and get it. Me, I'd rather make movies and do radio. That's just me. Oh, surprise, surprise. We talked about the other night. Heba Aref, a couple years ago, she's at an Obama campaign thing in 2008, wearing a Muslim headdress, headscarf, burqa, whatever it is, gets asked to leave. Next thing you know, she's riding on the same plane back from the Netherlands with the alleged underwear bomber. Boom. Same thing happens again. Woman gets asked to leave from an Obama campaign fundraiser. The same day we have another alleged bombing. Boy, this has all come out now. The underpants bomber was a double agent who delivered device to the CIA and then pinpointed location of mastermind for fatal drone attack. So he was a double agent. It's now come out that this guy was also working for MI6, British intelligence. So yet again, another alleged staged terrorist incident that they will, just like they've done. They literally to this day still call the underwear. They call it the underwear bombing. They call it the Christmas Day underwear bomber. No, but nothing got bombed. Nothing got blown up. But they still use this, even though they admit right here this guy was an agent. They will still perpetrate in the media and repeat over and over again that this was an alleged attempted terrorist bombing, when they have openly admitted here this guy was a double agent working not only for the CIA but for MI6 as well. But that won't stop them from saying that they thwarted a terror attack. It was our wonderful CIA doing their job. We need more funding for Homeland Security. Thank you. Bullshit. Oh, man, the hits just keep on coming. Ancient language discovered on clay tablets found amid ruins of a 2,800-year-old Middle Eastern palace. Boy, I told you, the age of revealing. All will be revealed, huh? Archaeologists have discovered evidence for a previously unknown ancient language buried in the ruins of a 2,800-year-old Middle Eastern palace. The discovery is important because it may reveal the ethnic and cultural origins of some of history's first barbarians, mountain tribes which had, in previous millennia, preyed on the world's first great civilizations, the cultures of early Mesopotamia in what is now Iraq. Evidence of the long-lasting language, probably spoken by a hereto unknown people from the Zagros Mountains western of Iran, was found by a Cambridge University archaeologist as he deciphered an ancient clay writing tablet unearthed by an international archaeological team excavating an Assyrian imperial governor's palace in the ancient city of Tushan, southeast of Turkey. The tablet revealed by the names of 60 women, probably prisoners of war or victims of an Assyrian forced population transfer program. But when the Cambridge archaeologist Dr. John McGuinness began to examine the names in detail, he realized that 45 of them bore no resemblance to any of the thousands of ancient Middle Eastern names already known to scholars. Because ancient Middle Eastern names are normally composites, made up in full or abbreviated form of ordinary words in the relevant local lexicon, the unique nature of the tablet's 45 mystery names is seen by scholars as evidence of a previously unknown language. The clay tablet originally formed part of the palace's archive, used by local Assyrian imperial officers to record their administrative, political, and economic actions. Now, this is interesting. There's definitely something to this. The reason that this was important that they keep records of this, because they were trying to keep records of these women for biological records purposes, and bloodlines purposes. That's why they were keeping track of them. They were important to these women because they were basically slaves, but they were using them as broodmares. So that tells you right there that, in the times of Babylon and Assyria and all these different empires of the Middle East that the Sumerian texts tell us was, the Anunnaki ruling on Earth at that time, you can see that throughout these civilizations that breeding programs and breeding different types of people together from different places was still going on, was very important to them even in that day. Even though, we're told that anything, older than 1900 was devoid of any kind of knowledge or information. Everybody was just idiotic back then, but that's really anything but the case. God, again, the hits just keep on coming. Ancient relics are the first definite sign of the Bible's King David, and they're next door to a Philistine city where Goliath may have made his home. Here we go with the fucking giants, folks. Right on time with the research I'm doing. My God. Woo! See, this is the ride right here. That's what I've been looking for. You know what I mean? This is 2012, baby. Let's get this ride on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, see, I like this. All will be revealed, and it's all being revealed right now. Our job is to come in here and make sure that the truth gets out about these finds and that the cover-up doesn't continue. And unfortunately, that's what's happening with a lot of these finds. That's why it's important that we get the funding that we need to get these films made and these projects done for the rock wall so we can control a piece of this information. Because they're going to vote on Saturday in Rockwall to build this park, and that's what they're going to try to do with this. They want to control the beliefs that people have about the rock wall, and that's why I'm worried and skeptical about this happening, why I think we should have ourselves a counter dig to this with some counter-independent documentation, so when they get this park built in 5 years from now, we'll already for years have had the information in tow, ready, waiting, saying, nope, nuh-uh, here's the real truth of it. We have independent analysis, independent digs, scientific discoveries, archaeologists, and everything else. I've got so many people volunteering for this, it's out of this world. Only thing we need is cash, as usual. Ancient relics are the first definite sign of the biblical King David. Archaeologists have delved into the lives of ancient biblical kings, exploring a shrine that predates Solomon's temple in Jerusalem by 3 or 4 decades. It's the first evidence of a Judaic religion in the area at the time of King David, with the inhabitants of the ruins observing a ban on pork and on graven images of animals or humans. Professor Josef Garfinkel, I'm sorry, the Eagle Yaden Professor of Archaeology at the Institute of Archaeology at the Hebrew University excavated at Karbat Kotaya, a fortified city in Judea, adjacent to the Valley of Elah, and found pottery, stone, and metal tools and many art and cult objects. Because these shrines predate the construction of Solomon's temple in Jerusalem by 30 to 40 years, they provide the first physical evidence of a Judaic religion in the time of King David. The implications are huge for archaeologists, biblical experts, and the religious. Located approximately 18 miles southwest of Jerusalem, in the valley of Elah, Kiryat Arba was a border city on the kingdom of Judea opposite the Philistine city of Gath. Yeah, that's in Gath. That Philistine city of Gath was supposedly full of giants. That's what I think is interesting. They're probably pulling giant skeletons out of there and covering that up right now, too. Over the years, thousands of animal bones were found, including sheep, goats, and cattle, but no pigs. Now we uncovered 3 cultic rooms with various cultic paraphernalia, but not even one human or animal figurine was found. This suggests that the population of Kiryat Arba observed 2 biblical bans on pork and on graven images, and thus practiced a different cult than that of the Canaanites or the Philistines. And the Canaanites and the Philistines come up constantly in relation to giants, and possibly being these giants that inhabited North America and had a hand in building all of these various ancient sites. So, yeah, I mean, it's just boom, 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 boom. Continues to be a handful of fascinating stuff, doesn't it? I think I accidentally closed myself out of the chat room. I was about to drop a link in there, and I was like, where did the chat room go? I think I closed myself out of it. Oh, well. Jacqueline the Ripper, new book claims Britain's most notorious serial killer was actually a woman. So they're trying to say that Jack the Ripper was a woman now. Which I think is total hogwash, because they know it was Churchill, not Winston Churchill, but I think his father or something like that. But it was all Freemasons. They had Freemasonic symbols. A woman is not going to know, all the different poses and all that stuff. Well, I mean, I guess she might. But it's been proven, man, that was a total Masonic murder. Now somebody's trying to change history and let the Freemasons off the hook as usual. I guess the only precedent there is for that, well, I mean, women are really not usually allowed to have Masonic knowledge. The only other place I've seen it that's odd to me, I mean, even in the Order of the Eastern Cross, they don't really tell them, any real stuff. Unfortunately, ladies, I'm sorry. Those of you who think you're in Order of the Eastern Star and you're learning something about Freemasonry, seeking the same stuff the guys are, I'm sorry, you're not. They just do that to appease you, to make you feel like you have your own little group, too, when, your husband goes off to pork guys in the ass and worship Jobulon and all that stuff. At the Masonic Lodge, Masonic Cathedral in Guthrie, Oklahoma, the entire inside of this thing was designed by a woman. Front to back. All the symbology, all the architecture, all the mathematics in it. And it blew me away. And I said, you know what? They must have known that she must have been a Freemason, something in another life, and been a man, and they knew this, because normally women are not ever given that kind of access to that type of knowledge. It just generally doesn't happen. Oh boy, South Park was right yet again. You guys see any of the new South Parks? I should never have gone ziplining, part 1. You ever see that? It's all about how they went ziplining, all this horrible stuff happens. They've already been right once this year. Remember the story we talked about the bullying thing, where they brought all the kids into the assembly at school and told them that they were going to go in there for an anti-bullying assembly, and they get them in there, and it's these like Christian singers telling all the girls not to have sex until they're married, and when people were getting up and walking out, they got bullied for leaving, not wanting to put up with the Christian bullshit and the preaching. So they got bullied, so they turned an anti-bullying, Christians turned an anti-bullying assembly into a bullying assembly. And within 2 weeks of me talking about that, a week maybe even, boom, there it was on South Park. We're going to, we're going to kick bullying in the nads. We're going to kick bullying to the fucking curb. We're going to bullying out the door and all this, I was like, God damn, there they are. Well, they've done it yet again. About a week or 2 ago, 2 weeks ago, they had an episode about zip lining and how, and all this stuff. They're prophets, man. These guys, they're way ahead of the curve. A Georgia woman is fighting for her life after contracting flesh-eating disease during a zip line accident. My God, that's almost exactly what happened in that episode. Because in the episode, it was like, zip lining is like, it's nothing to it. You just, you go across, it's totally safe. You're attached to a cord, and you just slide down a cable from one location to another. It's not that big of a deal. How the fuck could you get flesh-eating disease from sliding down a cable? I mean, that is straight out of South Park. Amy Copeland, a 24-year-old master's student at the University of West Georgia, hopped on the homemade zip line during a kayaking trip with friends in Carrollton, Georgia, but the line broke, cutting a gash in Copeland's left calf. Oh, okay, she got cut. Well, it didn't say that. It just said she got flesh-eating disease during zip lining. Fucking ABC, Yahoo News crap. Anyway, South Park was right yet again. There you go. First we had people saying Jack Black and Paul Revere were the same person. Now we've had people saying Nicolas Cage is a vampire. Now somebody has spotted Sylvester Stallone in a 16th century painting in the Vatican, and I'll be good goddamn if it doesn't look just like him. But I'll tell you what, it's funny that both these instances with both Nicolas Cage and Sylvester Stallone, isn't it interesting that they would both be Italian? Nicholas Coppola, from Francis Ford Coppola family. I mean, Nicolas Cage, Coppola, and Sylvester Stallone are both about as fucking bloodline as you're going to get. And here we are, yet again. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's uncanny. There's always something new to discover in Vatican City. Anthony Zonfrel, 20, a visitor to the Holy City, did a double take when he saw Sylvester Stallone in one of Raphael's masterpieces. I mean, it looks identical with the droopy eye. I mean, it looks just like him. But, there you go. Again, bloodlines. Bloodlines. That's what they're all about. Keep them pure. Keep that power structure in place, right, boys? Keep that shit a-going.